welcome back to another episode of the Barndo Channel. This week, we're bringing you a new episode of the 1845 Way, where we're going to tell you all about our steel framing.
Today we have a special guest. One of our builders, Jason Smith, is here. We get to walk through how we do framing, how we do our sheeting, insulation before we insulate. If you've ever wondered, how do we do it? Today we're here with Jason Smith, one of my lead builders there, has a ton of knowledge in this side. So let's talk about how we framed it and why we framed it this way, and just learn a little bit about a metal building. So Jason, we have an exterior window here. This is actually going to be over the interior kitchen area, over the sink. Answer me why and how we framed it this way, the trim. Give me a little explanation of that.
Well, what we do is we typically, because our steel walls are 8 inches first, so we typically go ahead and frame it all in 8-inch purlin so that we have a clean, smooth edged sheetrock too on the inside. We are framed opening sizes or whatever the windows are called out. The window companies, they naturally build them a 1/2 inch smaller so that they fit in the holes.
So this right here is a 3036, I think?
Yes, sir.
So what size opening would this be?
It would actually be 3 foot wide, 36 inches wide, and then 42 inches tall, which is the 3'6". And then, of course, we call out on our plans how high we want them up off the ground, or we typically try to put the top of the windows and doors all at 7 foot.
Yeah.
To kind of keep that just flowing with each other. Once we mount the windows, we use a flush mount type screw so it doesn't protrude away from the wall and wrinkle your trim and all that stuff. We install the window, we J-trim the window, we tape around all of that to waterproof it so that if accidentally water was to get behind the sheet metal, it'll come out at the ground instead of coming out inside the house. That's the nice thing about steel buildings. They're made to channel down.
One thing we do on our side with 1845 that's a little different. So this is an R-panel wall. That's a very common panel. We use that mostly on our builds. This trim particularly is a special design we have. So the actual width of it is the same all the way across, and then we miter our corners to match the windows. Most building companies will butt splice. They don't always miter. This is something a little more unique that we do, that we like. It's a cleaner look, as you can kind of see, but it gives a very residential feel, a good look on that side. So that's why we do that in this case here too. So that looks really nice there. As Jason said, it's a 7-foot header height, which is consistent. That really is up to you though. So if you have an 8-foot window height or a 6'8" or 7, it's really up to you. It doesn't change the cost of anything. As you see on the framing on the inside, it goes all the way to the eave strut. So real simple there. So we have a storage building here. We actually did traditional 3-inch vinyl insulation. So let's see how that looks on the inside with the framing. So this actually is 4-inch wall girts and 8-inch purlin in the roof because of the size of it there too. Jason, why do we use 4-inch? You mentioned 8 earlier. In this particular case, why do we use 4?
Well, it's to gain on a space that's limited like this is, and that you want to get as much storage as you can out of it. Using the 4-inch just allows you to have an extra 8 inches either direction inside here. The roof, normally we would frame it out of I-beams, but on this, because it all is purlin in short distances, we're able to frame it out of all purlin.
That's one thing that we really pride ourselves at 1845. We have an engineer we work with all the time that's in our office. We build everything specifically for a reason. So unlike a lot of wood frame where it's just a 6x6, a 2x6, or whatever it may be, everything's designed for a reason. So like Jason's mentioning, this wall girt is a certain size. This tubing right here is a certain size. The actual truss we use is a certain size for a reason. So everything we do is through a lot of thought. And if you buy a kit from us or we build for you, everything is done custom to your home. We just don't come out and decide, we've already built this before, let's just redo it, whatever we think it is.
That's right.
It's a lot of planning. Jason, you have like 300 years of experience in this, I think, right?
Yeah, I have. It's funny that I am almost the oldest guy here. The nice thing about this company in particular that I love, that made me fall in love with the company, is everything's always overdone, over-engineered, so we're never lacking. And our team is something else. From the drafters to the engineering to people that spec out everything, it's just amazing that we could build you something as small as a well shed, and there's 10 people that put thought into it.
Yeah, the same detail to a massive $1 million home is the same detail we have on a $5,000 well shed.
That's right.
So a couple more things in here. We'll go to the other side of the house. This is a cap trim we use here, again on a 4-inch purlin for the jamb. You can see that. That is purely cosmetic, gives it a cleaner look. If your builder is not doing that around your overhead doors, I would heavily encourage they do that. The red oxide paint does go away with age. It looks ugly after a little bit. So we cap that where it maintains really a clean look. So when this door is put in and it closes, you won't see the red oxide from the outside. So it looks really, really clean.
It also gives it a real residential, homely look instead of a steel building, like you're walking into a shop.
Yeah.
So it's always a plus.
Yeah.
Always a plus.
So one more thing on this, if you want to look over here, this wall actually is an exterior wall we have there too. So why didn't we, in a sense, flip this the other way and do it this way? What was the purpose of this?
Well, the water barrier that we put up before we install the wall sheets and the roof sheets, the spray foam is going to adhere to that vapor barrier. Well, if we was to flip these sheets around or get rid of this area, then now we have to build a wood framed wall that we have to have someone spray foam just in that 4 inches of wall. So we like to have more spray foam inside our house. Plus it makes it harder to continually and consistently keep the spray foam touching itself throughout the whole build.
So you talked about the envelope. Let's go inside. We'll show you what that looks like before we spray foam. We have our tie back up. That's our vapor barrier. We have everything ran really tight, taped properly. So when that foam does happen, this is why. So let's head on to the inside of the house and we'll look at that. We're inside of the new home that we're building for our new customer. This is the Tyvek we use. You can use other vapor barriers as well. This is what we prefer to do there too. Comes in different widths. It's fairly inexpensive to do, but we do that for a couple of reasons. When I first built barn doors, including my home there too, I spray directly to the metal. I've gone away from that some because we've had some experience of major hail or damage with panels.
Exactly.
And when you have that and you don't have that vapor barrier between the two, man, it is a nightmare to remove those panels. So that's a reason behind that, Jason. So this is the 8-inch wall here and how we do that. You want to go over that a little bit?
Yeah, as you can see here, and it doesn't matter what size they engineer the I-beams to be for the columns, we use an 8-inch frame line. So we start out with 8 inches of what we call steel depth, and then we move into 4 inches of wood framing. So when we attach the vapor barrier to the outside, our spray foam is not actually going to touch any of the wood structure, which makes it nice if you need later on to run cables or extra plugs somewhere. It's very easy to get in and do that. When we get that all framed up and we get all our protrusions out the wall for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, then we have them come in and they spray foam. And they'll spray foam 5 inches on the wall. They touch every I-beam, every purlin. They dust all the purlins to keep it a consistent feel in the insulation. They spray up behind the I-beams up there, and they put 8 inches in the roof structure. The insulation actually will adhere to this in any climate, any humidity, more so than it will to the sheet metal. It also allows, if we need to get in behind one of these finished walls and work on something, we can take a sheet off, cut into it, fix something, or add something most of the time, and then put it all back together. This is the only way to do it. It just makes it so much easier to add on, to repair. We get it all the time. People get done with their houses. They're moving in. It's their first home. They go buy a little lawn tractor. Next thing you know, they run into the house. We can show up in a day's time and repair whatever sheet metal needs to be repaired or whatever we have on the exterior of the home.
Yeah, what's really unique about that, when we changed this transition to the Tyvek, like I mentioned, I've done variations of this for a long time. When spray foam became really popular here probably 20 years ago, the savings has been exponential recently because there's so much of a demand for it. Our first one we ever did with a Tyvek actually had a massive hailstorm, one of the biggest in history in their area, and beat the roof all to heck before we even finished the build. We actually replaced the roof before we even finished the job.
Yes.
And fortunately, the homeowner's builder's risk policy covered every bit of that because you want to have a new roof, right? But that would made it very simple to redo on that side too.
And another thing is, once your home's finished inside, especially on the walls, you can't really get back in and properly spray foam it.
That's right.
Back the way you should. The roof isn't quite as bad because you can walk around. In our homes, you get full access to the whole attic. That's the nice thing about the way we tie our framing into our steel. You don't have all the bracing that would normally hold up the roof structure. So when you're in the attic, you got attic all the way to the edges of your house, which makes it nice for storage, makes it nice for addition, and it makes it a breeze for every sub that's working to be able to get in there and work.
So what's cool about this build, it's only about 5 miles from our office, so we're gonna document the heck out of this. Our video about concrete was in this house. Our wood framing we'll do next week will be in this house. The spray foam, so you'll get to see the build from start to finish. We'll share the plans with you. We'll give you everything you'd ever wanna know about the inside of a barn door. So that's our video for today. Thank you so much for checking us out. Jason, thanks for coming on today.
I'm happy.
Until next time, guys, thanks.